What is going on, guys? So you may be wondering why I'm wearing the hoodie. Look, I've got some funky shit going on with my head, so I don't want to expose that to you just yet. But I have an interesting story for you. Clementine Ford vows to curse men for donations in her new money-making venture. Now, why does she need to make money in a new money-making venture? Well, she recently quit from Fairfax newspapers because she completely fucked everything up. She called the Prime Minister of Australia a fucking disgrace, and when her employer turned around and said, you actually can't do that, and that's a sackable offense, so just letting you know, she's like, fuck you, I quit, and went on a massive Twitter tirade. And of course, she's set her 70,000 odd followers onto so many different women that have spoken out with a different opinion, not even attacking Clementine, but they've attacked her anyway, because, you know, if you disagree with a feminist, particularly one like Clementine Ford, she's going to make sure you know about it. Anyway, she's not going down without a fight. The controversial feminist columnist and author, who describes herself as a professionally angry person, quit her job in spectacular fashion this week, unleashing a foul-mouthed tirade at her former employer, Fairfax. Unveiling her new plan to make a living via the membership subscription platform Patreon, the 38-year-old claimed she had recently had her Fairfax columns halved, which means her wages were also halved before she spectacularly quit. Now, why would her Fairfax columns be halved, other than they're worth half as much as everybody else's? Well, the reason is because they're actually pretty shit. However, she still wants to be paid for writing against feminism, violence against women, misogyny, pop culture, parenting and mental health. Because she's such a fucking shining star in all of those areas, isn't she? So has set up a page which allows feminists to pledge cash to fund her work. On the page, Fight Like a Girl, she jokingly vowed to curse 10 men for every monthly $10 pledge donated to her new money-making venture. And I'm actually going to go to the Patreon page in a second, and I'm going to let you know what the different pledge levels are, including one which you're just not going to believe. I mean, you probably will if you know Clementine Ford, but still. And I'm being asked right now, what's my email address? It's sydneymctow@gmail.com. Okay. On the Patreon page, she's described how tough it is to make a living from producing feminist content that challenges and explores the world we live in. I'm presuming that you're talking about the patriarchal world which you believe to exist. All right, the majority of media appearances I make on radio and TV are all unpaid, she wrote. Yeah, because no one's going to pay you for the dribble and the bullshit that you talk. I've written 2 successful books, but making a livable wage from books is actually very rare. No, it's actually not that rare. But if your books were actually successful, instead of just making up bullshit words like successful that feminists like to use to make themselves feel better, because if it was actually successful, then you'd be making a living off it. But you're not, so that means it's not successful. As a freelancer, I have no sick leave, no holiday pay, no superannuation, and no contract that provides me with stability. I say all that not to moan. Of course you don't want to moan about it, even though that's exactly what you're doing. But to puncture and illusions people, that's actually what she wrote, puncture and illusions people, seem to have about feminist work being an ingenious get-rich-quick scheme. Is this not an example of women making their own lifestyle choices? She is now asking her fans to donate as little as $1 a month so she can keep her social media pages, which allegedly boosts the work of other women and non-binary voices, going. Now, just want to go back to the previous paragraph for a moment. As a freelancer, so you mean to say that you made a choice to be a freelancer instead of a full-time employee, and as a result you get paid less, and you're female? So you're a female that made a choice to do something that results in you getting paid less, and you complain about the pay gap. You, Clementine, are a fucking idiot, in my personal opinion, and I'm sure the opinion of many others, but I'm not here to speak for them, I'm just here to speak for me. I want to keep creating feminist content and running a free Facebook page and Twitter, but I also realize that this work is work, she said. In order to keep doing these things effectively in this environment, I need to put a value on it. Not just the hours required to produce the work, but the impact that its fallout also produces, which is often abusive in nature. It comes after Ms. Ford. Abusive in nature. And you weren't abusive calling the Prime Minister of Australia a fucking disgrace. You weren't abusive saying that men should die. And I know you're like, oh, that was just a joke because someone said I should die. But two wrongs don't make a right, Clementine, and I'm sure you should know that by now. I mean, I'm not even going to bother explaining it to you because you just clearly don't have the IQ. I mean, IQ doesn't matter to feminists, right? Because apparently intelligence is not about your actual intelligence. It's about privilege and patriarchy or some bullshit like that, some retarded feminist shit. It comes after Ms. Ford unleashed a social media diatribe against her former employer, which ended with kiss emojis and the blunt farewell. Bye, Fairfucked. The name's Fairfax, not Fairfucked. But I get your point. I know you're just upset because you suck at writing columns, and that's why they cut your columns to half, and that's why you get paid half the amount. The Wednesday night Twitter rant began with an out-of-the-blue message in which Ford wrote, "Scott Morrison is a fucking disgrace. Always has been, always will be. Anyway, bye, Fairfucked." You know what? There's a couple of messages here, so I'm going to share this for a second. But maybe you do get to the point where you decide that your shit salary with the shitty work conditions just isn't enough to keep eating shit every week. You're a bit of a shit eater, aren't you, Clementine? And you decide that you would rather take the risk on not making rent next month just to not eat their shit again. And you can say, well, why don't you just leave earlier? But the truth is, freelancers eat shit for money for so long. We have no job security, no super, no sick pay, no leave, and we learn to be grateful for what we get, which ain't much. But on a more serious note, and as I said then, why are Fairfax allowing their policies to be dictated by a news source wholly unconnected with them? And why is the Prime Minister being protected from criticism by a supposedly independent news organization? From what was translated to me, Fairfax were very concerned the Australian would write an article about it, so it needed to show some disciplinary action had been taken. Fine, give me 4 weeks paid leave, I said. $3, woo! She continued. Also, here's some tea, and I can spill it now that I've resigned from Fairfax. In September, they tried to fire me because I'd called transphobic Scott Morrison a fucking disgrace on Twitter, and they said that the new policy was that we didn't disrespect the office of the PM. I asked if it would be acceptable for me to call him a disgrace instead, and the person disciplining me said they would need to check. And fuck you, Don Schmidtke, for giving money to MGTOWs. Even though you said great content, Sydney, we all appreciate your dedication. And I'm sure Sydney does too. But fuck MRAs and MGTOWs and anyone that disagrees with me. And the chaotic killer says that beard's been hitting the gym. Well, you're just beard shaming me now? No, Clementine. He's not beard shaming you, he's complimenting me. By the way, I just wanted to say thank you so much. Thank you so much to the chaotic killer. I appreciate the donation, brother. I see you. Ms. Ford alleged that Nine newspaper's new boss, James Chessel, was protecting the Liberal brand, given he was once an advisor to former Treasurer Joe Hockey. I'm not the only writer who's had pieces knocked back that were critical of other news sources, practices, and elevating of bigotry. The reason? We don't criticize the competition. And this too, which I heard consistently over the last year or two, when they go low, we go high. Fairfax is dead. That's a fact. Ms. Ford accused the Prime Minister of engaging in transphobia bullshit and alleged she was reprimanded for disrespecting Mr. Morrison. Oh yeah, because telling Sunrise to get fucked isn't disrespectful at all. No, not even close. From oh, fuck's sake. So yeah, Monique Farmer, life editor of the two newspapers, issued a statement following Ms. Ford's dummy spit. Clementine Ford has been a contributor for the Sydney Morning Herald and the Age for the past 7 years, and we thank her for her work over that time. Now, I know this is a little left field, but I'm going to show you guys what a baldock is. And I promise it's relevant. So what a baldock is. A baldock is, as you know, when you see in a lot of the medieval clothing, and they have like it's almost like a sash, but it's actually like a sword holder, where you've got like the diagonal sash and people draw their sword out of it. That's a baldock, right? So it's, you know, typically quite a regal piece of dress. Anyway, I'm going to get to the point now, because you're wondering why the fuck is Sydney talking about baldocks. And thank you so much for the generous $10 donation from Sil. He says, for a $100 pledge on Patreon, she'll probably kill a baby boy. Glad to see you, Sydney. Well, I'm actually going to share with you, and I'm just going to put my my glasses on, you know, my transformation glasses. And I'm going to read this for you so you guys don't have to get retinal cancer, okay? By the way, can one of you guys just like call a chemotherapy clinic and book me in? Because, you know, I know what's going to happen after I read this, and it's not going to be pretty. Speaking of things that aren't going to be pretty, are you regularly accused of being a misandrist? Do you bathe in a pool of male tears each night before bed? Is your bank account full to bursting with all the fucks you don't give about whether or not your feminist views are threatening the men in your life? Welcome, friend. My name is Clementine Ford, and I'm a writer, speaker, and professionally angry person living in Melbourne. I write about feminism, violence against women, misogyny, pop culture, parenting, and mental health. I've been a columnist for Fairfax since 2012, but the media landscape is changing. I've recently had my column halved, which means my wage has been halved also. The majority of media appearances I make on radio and TV are all unpaid. I have written 2 successful books, but making a livable wage from books is actually very rare. As a freelancer, I have no sick leave, no holiday pay, no superannuation, and no contract that provides me with stability, because it's fucking all about me. And fuck you if you disagree. Can't believe they fucked me. And then I yelled at them, I'm so pissed right now. Fuck. Anyway, I say all that not to moan, but to puncture an illusion people seem to have about feminist work being an indigenous sorry, not indigenous. I'm just all caught up in social justice. Ingenious get-rich-quick scheme. I want to keep running feminist content, and you know, it's not just the hours required to produce the work, but the impact that its fallout often produces, which is quite often abusive in nature. This is an entirely voluntary pledge process, but you better fucking pledge, because if you don't, you're a misogynist. My writing will still be freely available, and my Facebook page will remain open so that I can connect directly with people. There is no obligation to become a patron. Let me just make that clear. But if you do, then I will probably not suck your dick, because you can't tell me what to do. However, if you value what I do and want to help support me to keep doing the signal, and I'm not talking about the male tears, although I do like to bathe in male tears. I'm talking about the Patreon tiers, where you give me money for more feminist bullshit. $1 a month or more. Shout out on Twitter with hashtag more a month. On average, we're way more emotional than men. Pledge $10 or more a month, and I will curse 10 men in your honor. Pledge $25 or more a month. I will make an MRA cry. Pledge $50 or more a month. A vat of male tears and a giant bucket of fucks you can either give or not give. But I suggest you don't give it to a fucking misogynist MRA MGTOW, because those fuckers, they're our enemies. We need to take them down, which is why I need your money, so that I can hate them on Twitter, right? So that I can change the world by just typing nasty shit on my phone. Because that's how you change the world, right? Just ask universities. Pledge $75 or more per month. I will cast a spell on Tony Abbott. Now, I know that these are probably against the Patreon community guidelines, and if you guys were to report me en masse, I'd probably get kicked off Patreon, but please don't do that because I need to continue my feminist work. And here's my most important, the most dear to my heart pledge tier. And as you all know, I have a male baby. He's always crying and complaining, feed me, love me, play with me, men, it's always about men. So because I actually want to put my son to good use, instead of just having him being a crying little fucking whinging MRA to be, I'm going to allow you to have my firstborn son as your baldric. That to keep your sword sheathed in. So you get to actually put your sword all the way from one end of his body to the other to protect it. My firstborn son, isn't that just so great? See, I will send you my firstborn son to be your baldric. You'll be so lucky if you... But what if... Wait. If more than one of you pledge it $100 or more, that means I need to have more male babies to make into baldrics. Oh, that's okay. They're disposable anyway. Just ask the people in New York who recently made abortion legal up until the moment the baby crowns. Even while the mother's in labor, it doesn't care. But Maddie can still kill your baby because that's women's rights and we need more women's rights. Anyway, if you like this video, even if you don't like me because I'm a feminist fucking person who can't understand normal thinking, you could always go and, go to paypal.me/Sydney MGTOW, or you could go to patreon.com/Clementine Ford and get yourself a fucking baldric from my firstborn for $100 a month. I don't know, which one do you think would be better for you? It's your choice, your body. It's my body, my choice. Unless it's my firstborn son, in which case it's his body, my choice also. So fuck men, right? Share this video for Sydney if you like what you saw. And fuck you, the survivalists, for donating those $2 to that handsome guy, Sydney. Even though he's a fucking MGTOW. God damn it! And I don't know who else it was that donated before, but fuck you too. And I'm sure Sydney really appreciates it. No, I'm not. Alright guys, I'm out of here. Gonna just let Sydney do the rest of this. And that's how you take down a retarded feminist, guys. All right, man, I appreciate you all. Thank you so much for joining in. It's good to see all you guys from the US and Australia. This stream is a bit better timed today. And again, I look forward to catching you in the next video. We've got a lot of good content lined up.